Hey everyone, it's Dr. Seth Carper here. Um, Today we're going to go over the circle of fifths, and this is a method that I've been using to teach my students how to teach themselves their scales using the circle of fifths. This is something I've been using for years, and I find that it's extremely effective in getting scales ingrained in a student's memory in a way that is much more effective than just putting them on paper and having them read them. This is great for classical students and jazz students alike. And there's nothing new here. This is all, you know, uh, extant information. It's just a slightly different way that I've put it together that I find is pretty effective. Um, we'll be going through basically how to build a circle of fifths and then how to use it to create a scale sheet for yourself, which you probably won't even need after you've done this because you'll have it in your memory anyway, hopefully. Anyway, so what you see before you is the circle of fifths, and it's pretty daunting looking. And I remember for years, whenever I saw this, I was just, generally confused about what I was looking at. And then one day it dawned on me, and it was kind of like one of these movie moments where I just saw all these patterns and cycles and things that were in it. And so hopefully you will also have one of these moments. Um, Most of us have absolutely no idea what to do with this, and we end up, instead of investigating it and trying to figure it out, we just get rid of it altogether. So let's start by building a circle of fifths. First thing we need is, of course, a circle. So if you think about the circle of fifths as a clock, right? So there are 12 notes, which means that there are 12 keys and hence 12 key signatures. And that's what we're dealing with the circle, is we're just arranging those 12 notes in a way that we can see their key signatures in a logical fashion. Okay. A fifth is an interval. If you want to learn more about intervals, you can check out a different video of mine on intervals. We'll go into a little bit of it here, but just know that an interval is the distance between two notes, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. Okay, so we're arranging those 12 pitches into intervals of fifths. Okay, so if you think about, again, that clock face, 12 notes, 12 positions. We're going to start with C, and we're going to put it in the 12th spot. And the reason we start with C is because C is 7 naturals. Now, most people think of C as being all naturals, which is also fine. It's the same thing, 6.5 dozen of the other, right? But I like to think of it as 7 naturals because when we get to other keys that have all sharps or all flats, it'll make a little bit more sense. Plus, how many note names are there? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There are 7. And in this case, every major scale and minor scale that we're going to deal with has all 7 note names in there. And so think of it as 7 naturals. Okay? So we're going to put our C right here in the in the 12 spot. The next thing we're going to do, since this is the circle of fifths, is we're going to count up 5 note names in the musical alphabet. Just a reminder, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, no H's. Okay, so if we start on C, C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G would be number 5. Okay. Looking at the piano helps out with this. Okay, so let's take a look at it one more time here on the piano. There's C, that's our first note. 2 is D, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so in that number 1 spot on our clock face, we're going to put a G. We're not going to worry about whether this is a perfect fifth or not yet. We'll get to that later. Okay, but what we do want to do right now is go ahead and fill out the rest of this side of the circle of fifths till we get to C again. Okay, so 5 more notes. G, A, B, C, D. Okay, G, A, B, C, D. There we go. So D goes in the 2 spot. D, E, F, G, A. A, B, C, D, E. Okay, hopefully you're doing this yourself at home. Okay, the next one would be B, and 5 more would be F. 5 more brings us back to C. Now, the problem with this is that these are not all perfect fifths, which we said we would get back to later here's later. It wasn't that much later. So we want to make them perfect. So a perfect fifth has 7 half steps. Why is that called a perfect fifth? Ask the Catholics. They're the ones who came up with this nomenclature back in the Middle Ages. Okay, so these are perfect. We need to perfect them by making sure that they all have 7 half steps in between each of those note names. Now, a half step, in case you're not familiar, is different than counting note names. When you count note names, you're going to count C, D, E. So you're going to count C, and then D is number 2. But when you're dealing with the distance between notes, like half steps, you have to actually move in order to create a 1. So C2, C sharp, and D is 1 half step. Okay? So it's that motion. So don't get confused and count the C as 1. It's not until you move to C sharp that you get 1 half step, right? So then C sharp to D is another half step. That's 2. To D sharp or E flat is 3. To E is 4. To F is 5. To F sharp and G flat is 6. And to G is 7. So C to G is a perfect fifth. So we're cool with that one. Okay, now you need to trust me on this next part just to expedite it. You don't need to sit here and count all of the half steps. But G to D is a perfect fifth, D to A to E, E to B. Those are all perfect fifths. But let's take a look at what happens when we get to B. So B to C is our 1 half step, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get to F and we're only at 6 half steps. We need 7 half steps. Okay, so we need to move up 1 more half step. That takes us to either F sharp or G flat, and spelling matters like in all of life, right? So if we call this a G flat instead of an F sharp, B to G flat is actually a 6th. Okay, we can't call it a 6th. We need it to be a 5th. We need 5 note names. We need to be B to F of some sort. So we're going to call it the F sharp. Okay, so right there, we're going to fill in our F sharp. And then if you were to count again, you would find that F sharp to C is going to be 6. So we need it to be a C sharp as well. Okay? Going back to our clock face. Okay? Thinking about that clock face. If C is in our 12 and that's all 7 are naturals, G is going to be in the 1 position and D in the 2, A in the 3. So G is going to have 1 sharp in its key signature. And this is where we start getting into the key signatures. Okay, so we're going to line it up with the rest of the clock face. D is 2 sharps, A is 3 sharps, E is 4 sharps, B is 5 sharps, F sharp is 6 sharps, and C sharp is 7 sharps. And you might be wondering, why don't we go on to G sharp? Well, that would be 8 sharps, right? But how many note names are there? We don't have 8 note names to put sharps next to, so we have to stop at C sharp. That's our 7 sharps. Remember, no H. All right, so this is the sharp side of the circle, okay? Now let's go and do the flat side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we're counting note names when we're just talking about a general fifth and not a perfect fifth. Okay, so we put our F in that position. And you think about this, instead of it being like 11, think of it as like the mirror image of it. So this is like the backwards 1 position. That'll make sense a little bit later. So F then, we would count down from F, F, E, D, C, and B would be our next one. And we already start to see a pattern here, which is C to F or C sharp to F sharp, right? F to B or F sharp to B, right? So what the next move would be then, you guessed it, E. It's a big circle. It's cyclical. It's just going to keep repeating itself. Okay, so that means our next one is going to be A, and then D. And you're starting to get worried because I'm crossing over some things. Don't worry yet. Just trust me. Hang on. Okay, next one would be our G. And of course, we're back to C. Now, if the other side of the circle was in the sharp side, this is going to be our flat side. Okay, so if you're looking at this, C sharp to F sharp, remember we had to alter those in order to get it to be perfect fifth, a perfect fifth, right? 7 half steps. Well, if we are going from C to F, we're a half step lower on our starting pitch. So C sharp is now C, right? And therefore, F needs to come down a half step as well. So C sharp to F sharp is a perfect fifth. We go down a half step on both of them, and then C to F will be a perfect fifth. Okay? The next one would be F to B, right? But we know that F to B, we already figured that out earlier, is not a perfect fifth. And it was B to F sharp that was before. So if you're going backwards, F sharp to B, we're going to go down a half step because we kept our F as an F natural from C to F, right? So now F natural then would have to go to B flat in order to make that a perfect fifth. Okay? Again, you could count all of your half steps, or you can just trust me that all the rest of these after B flat are going to be flat. So E flat, A flat. And this, again, it makes sense because B to E was a perfect fifth. B flat to E flat has got to be a perfect fifth. D flat, G flat, and C flat. All right? There you go. It's all fixed, right? Now our mirror image that I was just talking about, if we've got one sharp in the G position, it's going to be one flat on the other side. Two sharps in the D position or the 2 position is going to be on the mirror image, 2 flats on the other side. Okay? And so on and so forth. 3 flats, 4 flats, 5 flats, 6 flats, and then 7 flats. Why no 8 flats? You guessed it, there's only 7 note names. So now we run into a problem. You said that, Dr. Carper, that there were only 12 notes and 12 keys and 12 key signatures. Why would you tell me otherwise? Well, yes, technically there are 15 instead of 12. But 3 of those, F sharp, B, and C sharp, are enharmonic. That means that they have the exact same sound but different spellings. So while they are technically different keys, and they are important to learn all 15 of these keys. So when people say about 12 key practice and that kind of stuff like that, and learning things in all 12 keys, technically you're learning it in all 15. But sound-wise, there's only 12, okay? And it just happens to be that because of the way they line up here, those 3 keys are going to be our enharmonic keys, okay? Do you feel better now? I do. Thanks so much, little kitten. See ya. Okay, so crisis averted. Now we understand it. Now you're ready to put this circle to use. But before you do, you need the order of the flats and sharps. You know that D has 2 sharps. You know that A flat has 4 flats. But which sharps, which flats? And that's where our order of sharps and flats come in. So the order of sharps on the sharp side are F, C, G, D, A, E, and B. If you like mnemonics, I had a student tell me this one time. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. If that works for you, awesome. You know where else you can find it? Right here on the circle. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Because the order of sharps is, if you're moving an entire key in a fifth, then your actual notes that get altered are also going to be moving by a fifth. And because everything is in reverse and backwards for the flat side, so are the order of flats. Instead of it being F, C, G, D, A, E, B like the sharps, it's now B, E, A, D, G, C, F, which is just the sharps backwards. B, E, A, D, G, C, and then F. Okay? Cool, right? Pretty easy. Now all of a sudden, this doesn't look quite so intimidating when you see it like this. All this is exactly what this is the first image that I showed you. It's the same thing, except we've written the key signatures out on the staff, on the treble staff in this case, right? There was one more aspect, which was the minor keys that were involved in the middle of that, but those are just the major keys. That's a whole nother conversation. Most of the time, whenever I'm dealing with the circle of fifths, I don't include this minor section, because if you can get the major section, minors are pretty darn easy. But there it is. It's just the whole circle put on a rotation, okay? All right, so let's use it to build some scales. We're going to kind of combine the 2 images here with the nice clean circle of fifths with the key signatures on the staff and my order of flats and sharps there. So what you want to do in order to create your scale list, or to do some scales, is you're going to pick any of these. I would recommend that you start with C and go around the sharp side, and then start back at C and come back around counterclockwise on the flat side, but we'll jump around a little bit here just to show you an example. I'm not going to go through every one of these with you because part of the goal of this is for you to build these yourself, okay? Because that's going to make it make more sense. Here's a secret to scales. They're all in alphabetical order, okay? So if you were going to do the C scale, the first step would be just write out C, the musical alphabet from C until you get back to C. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Okay, there's your scale. Because there are 7 naturals, all 7 of these are natural, just like in C sharp, all notes are 7 sharps, and then in C flat, 7 flats. That's why I like to think of it as 7 naturals. Okay, but there it is. You play that on any musical instrument, and you will get a C scale. Okay, here's oh, never mind. I don't have my piano hooked up, but you play that on any instrument, you're going to get the C scale. Let's go to G. Show you what happens when you have a key signature. Same thing. Start on G. Write out your musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Excuse me, F, G. You don't even have to worry about the F sharp yet. Okay, I'm so used to saying the actual key signature. Okay, so you just write out the musical alphabet like this. Now you look at your circle of fifths, and it says that one of these notes is sharp. If you know your order of sharps, you go to the very first one. That's only one, so that's the only one you need is F. And you throw a sharp next to it, and boom, play those notes on any instrument, and you will have the G major scale. Okay? Let's try a flat one, just to show you that it doesn't matter if it's flats or sharps. It works the exact same way. Let's go to E flat over here on the flat side. So first step, write out your musical alphabet starting on E. Don't worry that it's the E flat scale. Just write the musical alphabet. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and we're back to E. Now look at your key signature. 3 flats. Which 3 flats? Pretend you don't have that staff next to you. You look over here to your order of flats, or you think of it in your head and you know what they are. And the first one is B, so you add a flat next to it. The second one is E, add a flat next to it. Make sure you catch both ends of it. But that's still just one note that's got a flat next to it. It's a repeat of that one note. And then A, boom. Play that on any instrument, and you have the E flat major scale. Okay? So, your next goal is to sit down and write out your scales. I would just write them out in letters like this to begin with, and then whenever you feel comfortable with that, then you can put it onto some staff paper like this. You can have your key signature over to the side, or you can fill out the key signature individually. Doesn't matter. As long as you are writing them out, you will learn them, and you will feel much better about scales and the circle of fifths whenever you're done with this. I hope it helped, and I hope you have a great day.